Awesome. I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear, and our friend Doyle Dykes is here.
Hey, Mitch. How are you?
Good to see you again.
Great to be on the show, or good to, whatever you call this.
I guess it's a show, right?
It is. I think you're popular.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Popular guy.
Thank you for saying so. You are.
The Sweetwater dude.
Yeah, right.
You
right,
are.
right. So you were here about 2 years ago when we did this.
Uh-huh.
Had a lot of fun. So.
Sure was, and it's good to be back here with Godin Guitars.
Yeah, you're here with some new things to show off for us.
Yeah, new toys,
Yeah.
which is always good. You
Right.
know, got to have them.
Right. So what have you been up to?
Well, been playing a lot, which is always good, and thank God I'm busy. And we have 5 grandkids now, so when I'm not playing, we try to go see them as much as possible. And what a blessing! I mean, I'm enjoying this time of my life. Been married 43 years, same gal.
Awesome.
So I'm a happy guy.
That's
really
great.
Good health, and thank God for that.
All right, congratulations.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. That's great
Thank
to hear.
you.
So you were here this morning. You were demonstrating the Godin guitars for our sales engineers, and this evening you're doing a workshop in the Sweetwater Performance Theater.
Right. Yeah.
We're
it's gonna
excited
be
about
fun. Yeah, me too. You know, that's the whole thing. Being in front of guitar players, it's just an audience that I feel like God gave that to me, to be able to relate to musicians, and encourage musicians to use their talent and their gifts, and to invest in that and invest in our kids and our grandkids, and which I do. I don't just practice what I preach what I practice. And
Nice.
I think there's a little difference there.
Yeah, right. So I was listening to you warm up here before you started playing, and it's really interesting to me how many musical styles you run through. There'll be like a classical passage, and then you were playing some Fleetwood Mac there a little bit, and some of the other fingerstyle kinds of things. How much do you work on different styles of music, or is that something that just kind of naturally has filtered in?
Well, it does kind of come. I mean, I have studied Chet Atkins so many years, and I would sort of follow him because in the beginning, Chet was just finger picking. That kind of a thing, and of course I still love doing the Chet Atkins where you got to, you're playing like a piano, and
Right.
Merle Travis you are too, but it's. And it's just a different bass pattern. But then when Chet began to go into more of the neoclassical type things, I kind of followed suit with him and learned some of that sort of thing. And I've written. That song came just because 2 notes. There's a friend of mine that played a song on the piano, and those 2 notes, I don't know what it was, it's just the feel of it, but it. And then I went from there, He was playing a totally different, something totally different, but sometimes something that simple will inspire me to write. I wrote a song for my wife as. And it sounds kind of sad, but when you love somebody, you go through things in life, and of course we had kids, and we had 4 children. And then now 5 grandchildren, and sometimes you don't always write a happy song, something like just a song, It made me think of her.
Sure.
And of course, we've been married 43 years, but she says, I think we've been together 10. So maybe that's the secret to our success, she says, which hurt, but But this guitar is a great guitar for that sort of thing too, because can I talk about the
Absolutely,
guitar a
please
little bit? Well, this is an Ambience. It is part of the multi-act family. Now this setting is just the pickup. Now if you move it, this is a blend, and it has 4 microphones. They're actually digitally captured or modeled, But if you just sort of blend them, if I start there, if you can just slide that up about the middle, just slide it up while I'm playing.
Sure.
See that?
Yeah, big difference.
And then you can switch microphones, you know. And there's a...
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? It's
A lot of
fun.
versatility, yeah. So not only do you have the 4 mic positions, but it looks like you have equalization built in as well?
Yeah, actually, you do. Of course, just like all the multi-acts, you know, of course, you have your volume control, then your bass, mid, and treble, your highs, you know, and you can really dial in to to fit most any room that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing an alternate tuning, this is pretty cool. And notice when I went down here, I didn't have to retune the top strings. And this is a part of Robert Godin's genius, you know, because there's the straight string pull and the way they made this headstock, and everything is just straight down. And it made it longer, so the strings are longer, so you won't have to retune the whole guitar. Let me go down another to a G here, now to a C. Add a little more bass if you want to. Switch it. I like that first one. Just subtle, you know.
Yeah.
Bass note. You get that nice little airy with that, just like if there was a microphone on it.
Yeah.
You typically don't do that on the guitar that's like this. It's thin and
Right.
it's more of an acoustic thing. It really is even more of something some of us says more of a classical type thing. But I think it sounds great on these.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And your harmonics come out good.
Yeah. Well, being a nerdy guitar player, I have to ask. We'll come back to the guitar, but this technique where you're doing there with using your thumb pick and your index finger to play the artificial harmonics, and then the tremolo, or sort of the tremolo effect that you're doing with the other two fingers. Did you envision that as musically first, or was that a technique you came up with, or how did you come up with doing both those at the same time?
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask that, but I'm glad you did. We had two girls that were going to go to college, and I was in a room feeling sort of sorry for myself and feeling bad, like I'm not a very good dad. And we put all these years into building a church years ago, and then I left, but I left the church without any debt. And I had started it and turned it into with a denomination and left and went on the road playing the guitar again. But I failed to put money aside for their college and all that, and it was a time where I really needed help. And so I was in a hotel room. I'll never forget it. It was off I-20 in Dallas. And I just turned out the lights and just pushed open the curtains you could see a street light, and I just began to play my guitar. And I just started doing that. I'd never done it before, and when I did, I wept. I thought, well, I'd never. And so it's a two-finger tremolo. In fact, about a month later, I showed that to Chet Atkins. I was at the Milano Cafe in Milano with him, and he invited me to come over and play. And I said, have you ever done this? He said, well, you have your bass, arpeggio harmonic. Is that a two-finger tremolo? I said, yes, sir. I said, have you ever done that? He said, I've never seen anybody do that. I said,
no,
good.
I haven't either.
I said, good.
That's awesome.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that to him. But it was just one of those inspired times. I wasn't trying to do that at all.
Right.
And that's where music takes you in the spirit when you're sincere with something. And music, I've always heard that it is the expression of the soul, And I was literally just pouring my heart out to God in one moment, and then the next moment I was just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to thank you for it. So that's why I just started playing my guitar. And I didn't mean to write that song, it just came out.
Nice.
Every time I do an interview, it always turns out to be a spiritual thing, but I can't separate that in my music because that's where I've always been with it. It's just always been a part of my life.
Yeah, it's a big part of you as an artist.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's got to get there. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful technique. That's very cool. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail us from the guitar. One of the other nice things about these is that they're even though it's thin, it's pretty much hollow inside. So you're still getting some of that resonance for the microphone to work with.
This is more hollow than some. I mean, they're actually chambered, but yeah, you get a really nice resonance from this. And then of course if you're recording with it, of course with this particular one, you have those microphones already built in, or the digital processor that'll you can add that. It just takes a signal. From here is what it does. It's a Fishman thing. And the guys at Godin went up and picked their 4 favorite mics to be digitally captivated, however they do that, processed, and that's what they put in here. So there's not a microphone in it. They just take the signal from this without taking anything away from it, and you just with this slider you just add to it, And it's funny because there's things in these guitars, and that's why I love Godin, because there are things in those guitars that are so well thought out in one package. I mean, I've been asked to play shows where I'd be all electric, and I'd ask a buddy, oh man, can we put one of those piezo bridge pickup things and try to mix it so I can play How Great Thou Art or something like that, or Music of the Night. Otherwise, I don't play electric enough to play a whole show where I feel like I do what I do. And it worked, but it was all taped together, and we had a battery stuck up under, but this is all in one neat package, and it actually works a whole lot better the way that that you can blend everything. It's just amazing. I mean, that's their genius. That's what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do it well.
Absolutely. So how did you make the connection with the Godin company?
Well, Canadians, I've always loved going up there. I always say, okay, it's time for you. You can have your geese back anytime, I never thought I'd ever go up there like this, but I've always loved being around the Canadians, and my daughter Haley used to travel with me. It was one of our favorite places to ever go. We go once a year. The people are so appreciative of music, and it's very European in a lot of aspects. So they tend to, well, they tend to appreciate people when they come up there, for one thing. But there's a real love and appreciation for live music. There's certain pockets of the United States, of course, that are that way, but not as a whole. But the Canadians really have that. They really still have a passion and love for music, and not to take anything away from you know, our country, and I love it. But they're North Americans just like we are. And so when they build these guitars in North America, to me that means something. And this guitar here was probably even put together at the New Hampshire plant in Berlin, New Hampshire. I got a friend of mine that's over in the next little town over, and he's a police chief there, as a cop. Big guy, and his brother's a master chef, and in New York City. He's on that Chopped show all the time, you know.
Yeah, sure.
But this guy, his name's Mark Santos, and he says, "Hey man, I got the coolest guitar. It's a multi-act Godin." I said, yeah, and he said, I didn't even know that they make these right down the road from me. I said, no way. And then he bought 2 more. And then I had a friend of mine in Texas that I actually borrowed one of Eric Clapton's guitars that he owns. It used to belong to Clapton. And I was recording over Eric Johnson's studio. He lives outside of Austin. And he kept telling me, you need to try a Godin guitar. And I was there Christmas, and I had all these guitars. He took me in his guitar room and showed me all these guitars. And what he had set up, he said, you have to play the Godin. And in fact, he bought a really nice jazz guitar, about a $14,000-$15,000 guitar the other day, and he showed me a picture of it. And then I showed him a picture of my Godin, you know. And then he showed me a selfie of it. He said, yeah, but look what I'm sitting here playing. And it was a selfie of him sitting there holding at that very moment his Godin guitar. So I thought, well, I'm getting all this for some reason, you know. And I got a call from Bob Urbonis, who used to be with Taylor when I was years ago. And he says, man, I'm so happy to be with this company. I'd love to send you out some guitars. It was during Christmas holiday season, because I'm very busy. I don't get home till Christmas Eve, sometimes Christmas Day. And then when the grandkids come, we have Christmas 2 days later usually. But I said, well, no, don't send me anything. I'll just see you at NAMM. And I kept seeing people, like I saw a kid on my way home and in the airport with a Godin bag, and he acted so proud of that guitar. And I just couldn't get it off my mind. So I'm walking up to the NAMM show, and I see, you know, Bill, the rep here for this area, and he said, hey, Doyle, heard you're coming over to Godin. I thought, well, I reckon I am. And I went up there, and Robert was just like this. My wife said, well, I never thought you'd ever get involved with another guitar company like that, because I play an Olson guitar. And I have 2 of them, and that's as great a guitar as you'll ever see in this life. But you can't get them. I mean, James is, you know, not taking orders very much at all these days, and they're $20,000, you know. And I thought, well, I just missed that part in my life. And when I went over to their booth, and it's like a friend of mine said, go where you are celebrated, not tolerated, you know. And he was like this, and I felt immediately like I was part of the family. And when I went to see Robert Godin a few days ago, he said, how do you feel about all this? I said, well, I feel like it's a God in. And so it is just, it's another chapter of my life, and I'm just thrilled about it. And if they didn't work, if I didn't believe in it, I absolutely wouldn't do this.
Right.
But this is so different than anything I've done in the past. I'm very happy to be here and be a part of this.
Right. We're getting great sounds, and you have the steel string here, and behind you, you have the nylon string.
Yeah, well, we'll
give us a little taste of that?
Okay.
Nice. So which model is this that you're playing here?
Now this is a multi-act, and it's the SA, which so you can actually synth access, so you can run it through the synthesizer like the Roland, and they have other things now too in the computers that you can run, and tracks are really great. It's just amazing how they work. But the nylon string is so versatile. I mean, there's so much you can do on it. Chet Atkins gave me one of his guitars a long time ago. And of course, it was his model Gibson at that time, and it was a solid body guitar. And this was so much lighter, and with all the other things, so they just kind of took. I don't know who came up with it first. I don't know any of that stuff, but I know when Chet gave me that guitar, it allowed me to be able to do things that I would normally do on a classical guitar, and then play it where people can hear it. Mm-hmm. Well, then they kind of took it another step and just brought it to a whole new place, and with the synthesizer type things, it's just amazing what you can do with this guitar.
Nice.
It's just really a cool guitar. But I typically use it just like this, just because I like the sound of it,
right?
The sound of the guitar itself.
Right. Do you find that you have to make a shift in your technique going from the steel string to the nylon string?
Not so much. I mean, I've been playing 50 years. You know, I mean, you just kind of feel it. You know what this is. And from the beginning, I mean, you can get that Spanish sound, or there's a cowboy song. And it has a lot of notes. Those are the chords, so sometimes there's one play. And it just rolls real easy, you know.
Right. Right, nice.
A lot of fun.
Obviously very playable.
Very playable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they play like butter.
Is this neck similar to the steel string, or is it more like an actual classical guitar?
Yeah, a little more. I mean, it's not a full, they have 3 widths. They have a nylon string the same exact width as this particular guitar, and this one on 11, this one is 1 7/8, and then we have a 2-inch, and also the body joins more up here towards the 12th fret, so it feels more like a full classical guitar, but it is this same guitar, but it has that feel to it. Right. And I'm somewhere in the middle, you know, so that I prefer this, and the little bit wider neck helps you, you know, because the steel strings, if you could see it on it, would move like this, and nylon where it would move that way, you know, slowed way down, of course, you know. Right. And so if you get them together, they'd be slapping each other, you know. Right. That's why you don't see many 12-string nylon, you know, guitars, nylon string guitars.
Right, right. Old lutes.
Yeah, I guess they are, yeah. But I play so hard too that. And these guitars just have a lot of moxie. I mean, they just, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, you just, bang the daylights out of them, and they're good. Is that all you have? I can take it.
Right, right. Yeah, they don't compress. Some acoustic guitars, when you hit them hard, they start to kind of compress, and they don't go any farther. You can't have any more dynamic with it. This doesn't seem to be that way.
No, and it works. I mean, you can feel that there's still a lot of solid material in here, even though everything is chambered out. But it's still hollow enough to when you're recording again. Throw a mic on it. And so when you compare or when you combine that with the pickup, and I usually go through 2 amplifiers. I do a lot of recording at Eric Johnson's studio because he's such a great guitar player.
Sure.
And he's had it engineered there for a long time that knows good guitar sounds. And then we kind of developed our own thing in there too. But we'd use 2 amps and 2 mics on each amp, and you have to be careful with that. But we also run it through the board direct, and on this guitar, just put a mic in front of it. And you get all these sources, and then when you mix, it just sounds huge.
Right.
It's an amazing thing.
Right. So are you playing through like an electric guitar amp or an acoustic guitar amp, or what kind of amps are you using when you do that?
Mostly electric amps. I mean, for the studio, I mean, I use Rivera most of the time. And they are a tube amp, and they're also the Rivera Sedona, which is a model that I developed with them years ago, is a all tube electric / acoustic amp. So you can go for anything from an electric like a Strat or a Tele or any of those type guitars, a Les Paul type guitar, to any kind of acoustic guitar that you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And these being the hybrid guitars that they are, because a lot of the Godins, like the Spectrum, has Seymour Duncan here, and that tube amp actually picks that up very well.
Mm-hmm.
But in the studio a lot too, I have a lot of old vintage amps and stuff, and Eric does too. And if I don't bring anything, he'll let me use his a lot of times, which is pretty cool. It's kind of fun to look through his stash of things. I don't mess with him unless I ask him, but we both have a good set of deluxes, old ones, and mine have Altec speakers in them, and they're out of the '60s or the blackface. And those sound really good when you pair them up together. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we just, this is our hobby in our lives, and when you do something like this, you do it because you love it. And why not spend a little extra time or money? I mean, I don't have a big boat or anything. I guess I could have if I didn't have so many picking guitars and amplifiers. But I get more joy out of that. And then when I'm home, people ask, well, what do you do? I spend time with my family. I spend time with my wife. How do you think we've been married 43 years? Spend time with my son, and he's my guitar buddy. But Caleb probably has, 20 guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have people say, well, you're going to spoil him giving him so many guitars. I said, well, he has his own guitar closet, but I've never had to bail him out of jail or rehab, either. So I'm thankful that he loves music and he puts himself into that, and a lot of shenanigans he could be getting into. And I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm there, thank God that he hasn't done any of that. And but the thing is, music is a commodity. It's part of our lives. It's something that we breathe it. I mean, it's just part of us,
Right.
Thank God for Sweetwater too, because
well, thank you.
People ask me all the time, well, where can I get so and so? And I have to admit, you've bailed me out of a lot of times when I need to get something quick for Christmas for my son or his birthday, and you've always came across really great for that.
I'm glad to hear it. That's wonderful. Thank you for saying so. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. So I have two more questions for you. Mm-hmm. The first is, I was checking out some of the free guitar lessons on your site, on your website,
nice.
which are very cool. And the one you have posted currently, you started off by saying, I'm not an acoustic guitar player.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, typically I played electric guitar for so long, and so I would do things on the acoustic guitar that you don't normally do, and I can't do it on this one. I could have probably a little more on this guitar, but the string bends and stuff that you would do on a Tele, what I did was just bring that over. Like there's a song that on my site called Jazz in the Box. And I would bring those ideas over to the acoustic guitar, and next thing you know, I was written up in magazines, and I was a clinician for a great guitar company, and I was on the Grand Ole Opry a year later, and have been ever since.
Nice.
And so it's just taking those ideas that I did on the electric guitar and put them over on the acoustic. Now I feel more comfortable with a guitar like this than I do most electric guitars, even though I have some great old vintage guitars and Gretches and Fenders and things like that are a lot of fun to play. But to be honest with you, if I was going out to play, I'd much rather bring the Godin along. It's just it really works out. You don't have to think about anything. Is this going to work? Is this going to work out? How's it going to, dynamically, can I get that across? You don't have to think about any of that. And when you find the guitar you can do that with, that's the one you should be playing. It's nice to have an old '57 Chevy around the house, and I heard Bob Taylor say this one time. But if you're going to take out, if you're going to go across the country, you better get you a new car or a van.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something that works, is reliable, and that'll fit your needs if you're carrying things or whatever. And that's the way these guitars are. I mean, they're not a Swiss Army knife. They are what they are, and they work in every aspect. But I found out that they really work great for me, so that's why I'm here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So my last question is, and I like to ask this when we have a virtuoso musician like yourself here. You mentioned Eric Johnson and obviously Chet and so many other great players that you've encountered through the years. What is it that makes a great musician?
I think actually getting out of here, through here, You know, being able to do that, and when you feel their soul of it, you feel the emotion of it, and that's what makes a great musician. And you know, I'm not saying I've arrived or I've ever gotten there, and I'm certainly not one to drop names. I've just been so blessed to be able to meet my heroes. I really have. Eric was one of those too, and Larry Carlton, and there's so many great guitar players that I call them friends.
Right.
I call Chet friend. I call Merle Travis my friend. Les Paul, and I got up and played with him at the Iridium, you know. But I remember my daddy in church. I woke up this morning feeling fine. I woke up with heaven on my mind. And my brother and I would sing. They'd stand us up in these chairs, and my dad would be over here with his old Les Paul Gold Top, and Mom would be over, and we'd sing. And I heard that lively music all of my life. And I'll have to say, when I met these guys and I saw where all that came from, it was a part of them. It's what they were. It's who they were. And that's what makes a great musician, I think, defining that sound that you have, and knowing that's that person coming through that I hear there. And
Right.
and you can tell, I mean, Chet, you know, when he'd play, you know, he was just such an easy going guy, and he had it in his music. Merle Travis. You know, it was a little more in your face, and then Les Paul definitely in your face. You know? So you go from the country gentleman to, you know, the Jersey guy.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well, thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming
It's
back. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure to be here. And
We're
to
just so
be with-
excited, and to have you here with Godin is
Yeah,
wonderful.
I love these guys. They talk funny up there, but they're good people.
But the guitars are great.
But they can still have their geese back.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I've had some great experiences, and this is another one that I think a lot of great things are going to come out of this. So God bless you guys. Appreciate what you do at Sweetwater.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to coming back. Come back
I'll
soon.
be
and
anytime.
Play more music for us. We love it. We love it. Thanks, Doyle.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more guitars, more amps, and we'll be making lots of music. Please make some more music for us.